Can you become a millionaire with just one commercial real estate deal? The answer is yes. Can you do it with no experience? Of course you can. Now, can it be done in this crazy real estate market we have today? Of course it can. I'm going to share with you a short video interview of one such student named Chris who accomplished all the above. But before I do that, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Peter Harris with Commercial Property Advisors. I am author of this book, Commercial Real Estate Investing for Dummies. I also have my new bestseller called Commercial Real Estate for Beginners. We also have, very proud to say that, we have the #1 rated most watched YouTube channel of all time on commercial real estate investing. And that's because of you, so thank you very much. I'm also a coach and mentor to many commercial real estate investors all across this great country of ours. In today's video, you're going to learn how Chris became a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, with just one deal in 1 year, and it was his very first deal. I will also give you proof through the interview that the great deals in big markets are still out there if you know how to find them. It's a mindset thing. And thirdly, you'll see from the video interview that what Chris did is not rocket science. You need our process in a company like ours to help you accomplish your goals. So let's go to the video now, and when we come back, I will do a short summary for you. Let's go there now. All right, welcome everyone, and welcome Chris. Thank you for joining us this morning. And as everyone knows, Chris is one of our protege students, did an awesome deal. And welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, Peter, it's great to be with you. Thanks for inviting me.
You are so welcome. I want to jump right into it, Chris. Many people say that there aren't any good deals left in Texas or in other major cities. What can you say about that?
Well, I think that the market is definitely a little bit slower than before, but as with the deal that I was able to get, there are people that are motivated to sell that are off market. Mm-hmm. And if you can go out and find them and plow that field, they will pop up and they will talk to you and they will sell to you.
Great.
And so I think that, the economics might on the outside look like it's down, but there's a lot of motivated sellers out there, and some of them just need to be asked.
That's right. That's right. Good job. Thanks, Chris. So Chris, real quick, tell us something about yourself. What do you do for a living and what do you do for fun?
Well, I started flying back in 1977 with the Navy, and then I went into airlines a little bit later, so I'm still with a major airline. And I have a rather large family, Peter, as you know, 7 children, mm-hmm. Some married, grandkids. So basically my life is my family and, of course, flying for the airline and then managing the managers of my property.
There you go. Great, yeah. Great. All right, so let's jump into the deal, Chris. So tell us something about the deal. How many units and how did you find it?
Well, when I went with you back in March of 2016, I was interested in getting into commercial property, and I knew nothing about it. So I figured, well, with flying, you get the very best instruction you can, and you do your very best all the time. And so here I was, knowing nothing. So I scoured the web and found you. You interviewed me, I interviewed you, and here we are. So that's how the deal started. And I anticipated getting, at the time this deal came in, I had found 3 properties that you had helped me write contracts for that were very close to being signed by the owners. One was a 4-plex, one was a 16-plex, one was like a 26-plex. And so I was thinking that was a good place to start, smaller properties. And you were encouraging me to go after anything that came up. And as you said in your book, you want to have probably 12 contracts in development, 3 signed, and you're working to close. So we were basically almost closing these 3 properties. The owners were about to sign, and then I had done like you had also encouraged me at that point to find lenders. Okay, and so I had scoured the horizon here in Houston, found a lot of lenders, a lot of brokers, bankers, mortgagers, mortgage companies, and so I was getting familiar, and they were very good with me, encouraged me to find property. So I felt like I had some resources. You added a resource to that portfolio of financiers here in Houston, broker mortgage company that you knew. And so I had contacted them, talked with them, and had a relationship going, and asked them to send any properties they'd heard about. And lo and behold, about 2 weeks later, they called me and said, we've got a property. It's a large property for a new person in the business. It's a 90-unit property here in downtown Houston. So that started the ball rolling, and I contacted you, and you said, okay, are you sure you want to start a property of this size out of the chalks for the first time? And I said, well, let's look at it and let's see how it goes. I can always pull out before I sign any contracts. So that's how it started. I started with you in March 2016. This came out in mid-April. And so we contacted the owner through the broker, and the owner said, well, I'm not interested. I've changed my mind. So it was on the back burner. I kept pursuing the other properties that we had going using your system. And by the way, your system provided an overwhelming number of responses, so I was very busy. So about, I think it was the second week of May, about 8 weeks after you and I began our relationship, the owner called back and said, I want to sell. So that's when I started getting busy. That's how it came about. It was actually through a broker mortgage company that, as you had encouraged in your text and in your training, make relationships with brokers, mortgage companies, and ask them to send you off-market properties. And remind them occasionally every few months that you're still there. So that's exactly what happened.
Okay, great. So for those of you in the audience, Chris in 1 year created about $2 million in equity. And but it didn't start off that great. I mean, Chris had some challenges. So Chris, walking into the deal, what were some of the challenges? They were great, right?
They were great. The background was that, like you said in your materials and verbally to me, was you want to find deals where everybody has the opportunity to win, to come out of it feeling better. And that's what happened here. I had good people surrounding me, especially you. And so in the very beginning, it looked extremely positive. The owner wanted to sell because it had been undermanaged, actually by him. The broker who sent us the property had financed this property for him years before. And so they were motivated to help him sell before he went bankrupt on this. They got foreclosed on, I should say. And of course, I was interested because they were selling it for a good price.
Right.
So it looked really good in the beginning, but like you just said, some big things that came out was the first day we visited and we started doing the due diligence checklist you provide. I found a management company that was recommended by some people, and they went with me. And the first thing that hit me, Peter, was we walked in to one of the sections and it smelled like a sewer. That's not a good sign. It started raining while we were in the office, and there was water up to the floor of the office from the patio out front. That was number two. Number three, there was no computer-generated rent rolls or profit loss statements, which gets back to undermanagement. Yeah. So basically, and I looked at the roofs. Obviously, they hadn't been repaired. We could think for maybe not replaced for 25, 30 years. They had small repairs everywhere. It looked really modeled, and looking into the maintenance records they had written down, a lot of people were having leaks, etc. So it was definitely an acquisition rehab from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And it kind of overwhelmed me in the sense that, okay, I've got to pay this much for the property. What's it going to cost for the rehab? So that was the problems, the big problems I saw the first time I went to the property. As you encouraged me, you said, Chris, you got to go down there probably every week, watch it and talk to the owner as much as you can, the people that are managing it, and really watch this thing as you're developing your, getting close to your contract and having to close on this. So those were just some of the things.
Great. So Chris, where did you see the opportunity to turn around the property, increase the rents, increase the property value? Where were the opportunities?
Well, when I went into ePartner, and you said, Chris, you know, before we really go too far, we've got to get this the reality put down here is what they're actually doing, and then put our pro forma together. So the first thing that was really positive about it was when we looked at the rents that were being commanded by the average market within like 3 miles. It's C property, C neighborhood. We saw that basically we were $200 behind per month on the ones and the 2 bedrooms. And when you put that in the pro forma, even having to do what we found out would be a $600,000 rehab, we came up with a really good pro forma. And looking at the cap rates, talking to local brokers and some banks, we found out that this was a very good deal.
So with all the challenges, Chris, the property not being stabilized, needing repairs, undermanaged, how did you manage to finance the property and close on a deal? So what did that look like?
Okay. As I said before, the first good thing was the owner was motivated. So basically it was going to cost, I think, about $3.1 million. He would take interest only for a year himself on $1 million of that, roughly a third.
Yep.
Well, I went to the mortgage broker that brought me the property, and they would not help me finance it because it didn't meet their criteria. Obviously it wouldn't, because the rehab was so great, and the a third of the units, of the 90 units, 60 were occupied. So they wanted me to have a lot of skin in the game. They wanted me to have, you know, to bring to this deal 20% of the $3.1 million. And I didn't have it. So we talked, your materials talked about it, and you said, Chris, go find money somewhere. Look on the web, look for mortgage companies, broker, dealers, and you mentioned hard money. So I found, to make a long story short, I spent probably, I don't know, 8 hours a day for 3 or 4 days doing this, and I found 7 hard money providers in Texas. I found one in Dallas. They paid attention to me, wanted to talk to me, and they ended up lending me the money. But it was at 13%. 13% for the other $2 million.
Yep.
But they added to that, Peter, the rehab money, of course. Yep. So I ended up borrowing from them, I think, $2.6 million, roughly, and at 13% interest only for 1 year. So we basically...
So Chris, stop right there. So just to clarify, the purchase price was around $3.1 million. The seller carried back a mortgage in amount of about $1 million, and then you went out and found the hard money for the remaining at 13%.
Correct.
And that included the acquisition plus rehab.
Correct. They would not lend me the money unless they knew I had the money to replace the roofs, to do all the general contracting, work on the sewer system and the storm drains.
Great.
That was $600,000.
Yep. Great. Okay. And so fast forward today, how long did this process take you from taking over to stabilizing the property where you felt you had a good hold on it?
We bought it in June of 2016. In June of 2017, about a year and a half ago, we had it a year, and with the original management company. Okay, and that was when I had to refinance. Okay.
All right.
So the property was not quite stable, but it was stable enough to get refinanced by a lender out of California.
Okay.
They,
And it
they
was
liked what they saw, and the funny thing was it was supposed to refinance on August 29th of 2017.
mhm.
That was the day Hurricane Harvey hit.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, Murphy's Law was at work. So I had to hurry up and call the owner and the hard money lender, get an extension for a month.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, we were stabilized enough to get refinanced, Peter, 1 year into it.
In 1 year, basically, you were able to get out of the hard money and into a long-term loan, right?
Yes.
And that loan was it Fannie Mae product, Fannie Mae loan?
Yes.
Okay, Fannie Mae loan, 30-year amortization. What was the interest rate?
4.1.
4.1, fantastic. And did they require you to come out of pocket with any other down payment money besides
No.
closing costs? Okay, great. So they went from the hard money, from the seller carries second mortgage to the hard money, which included acquisition plus renovations, into the long-term mortgage.
Right. So now we have a 4.1% 2-year interest only.
Great, great.
And it's 4.1%. I think it's 3.5 million.
Yeah, that's great. And at that point, I know the property wasn't fully stabilized. What did the appraisal come back at that point?
Oh, I think it was up in the high threes, 3.8,
Okay.
3.9.
And then today, what is it worth a few months later once it's fully stabilized?
It's funny you should ask that. I probably have 3 or 4 calls a month from brokers that have people that want to buy it, and then I get calls and letters from people that want to buy it. 6.3 to 6.5 million.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, so let's do the quick math. If you were to sell it today, you would pocket after closing costs, after commissions, about $2 million. So,
Yes.
yeah, that's awesome. That's
Right.
awesome. Yeah.
Right.
Good job, Chris.
Well, thank you for your mentoring. It was
Well,
awesome.
yeah, no,
Now,
you're welcome.
when you said good job, though, I want to say to your current students and future students that I never made a decision that conflicted with your advice. Not once. I don't plan to for my next project.
Okay, great. So quick question, Chris, is it better to do a bunch of small deals or one large one like yours?
I believe that it depends on your personality, what you want to deal with. For me, in retrospect, the large deal, the efficiencies of scale,
Mhm.
the lessening of the risk, for instance, vacancies can be spread out to the rest of the property. Things like that, I think that going with the larger property for me would be better. So it just depends, I would think, on the personality, on the person. I will say this, Peter, that I was kind of owned by this deal for those first few months when we were putting it together and getting it signed and then closed. And then spending a lot of time the first year, each day, managing the managers.
Yep, yep.
There might be more time involved in a larger deal over the first year. So for me, definitely efficiencies of scale, risk management, say the larger the property on one site, the better.
Great, great. So in a nutshell, you bought the property about 3.1, and what amount of rehab did you put into it approximately? Was it?
I think, it was around 500,000 or 600,000.
Okay, yeah, I think it was 600,000. So you bought it for 3.1, you put in 600,000, so your all in is about 3.7. And about a little more than a year later, now it's pushing $6 million in value. Is that right?
Oh yeah, way over that.
Mm-hmm, way over that. Okay, that's great. So Chris, good job. So where do you go from here? What do you want to do next?
Getting back to your earlier question about stabilization, working with some lenders right now, I want to borrow against it when I can.
Mm-hmm.
And so we think it'll be fully cured, you might say, and really by April of 2019, I want to borrow against it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so figuring, the appraisal value and the loan to value type of lending I can get, I'm thinking maybe we could get $1.5 million out of it to buy another property.
Yep.
So currently I'm visiting, looking at properties that come my way. As you know, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about a property that was off market that a broker brought to us before they put it on the market, which was very kind of them.
Yep.
We didn't go through with it, but it got me back into the groove of the whole procedures for acquiring another property. So I would like this time next year to be talking to you, having bought another property, and I'm looking for 150 units.
Good.
To 250. That's kind of the sweet spot, as you taught me, for efficiencies with costs of management and maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm looking at, is next April pulling the trigger, having refinanced and now able to borrow against it.
Okay, great strategy. And finally, Chris, could you end it here with encouraging some of the investors out there or potential investors out there, encouraging them of where to begin or where to start if they want to do what you do, because you went from basically just a single family home, your house, to getting knowledge, joining a program. Now this is what you have. So how would you encourage a person wanting to jump into the business, but they're just not sure where to start?
Well, where to start is you have to decide whether or not you have the knowledge and the experience to get involved in one of the most difficult businesses out there that you could own and operate. And so I would encourage people to look for the very best trainer, mentor, someone that's not only going to give you the information, they're going to train you in the information, and they're going to be with you every step of the way, like you were with me. And I would say I looked at probably, 9 or 10 people that wanted to mentor me, and they, the problem was with the information, the background, your resume, the books you've written, all those sorts of things spoke volumes to me. And then access. I can always find you, get you on the phone, or get you helping me on the coaching calls. You're always there. And you own many properties all over the country, so you're speaking from experience. And I would say to people out there, make the decision whether or not you think you have the knowledge to do it. If you don't. If you want to do this and you want the knowledge and you want to get the experience with someone at your side, go with Peter Harris. Go with Peter Harris.
Great. Thank you, Chris.
And you're going to pay very little to Peter Harris over time compared to the benefits. And you're going to have a great professional relationship with a great guy, Peter Harris. So, and like I told you, Peter, get ready. I'm going to be bugging you a lot in several months as we start project number 2. And one thing you told me way back, and it's in your materials, you said, look, Chris, commercial property, you've got appraisal working for you. It's the best tax business haven in the country. You can get income from it. And number 4, which I'm about to do, it'll bankroll your next project. Great. And all of those things that come through. And you told me one time, don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. So I kept sending the letters out and kept calling people to see if they wanted us in their property. And they responded. And I was really, really busy about to work on closing these 3 deals I had. But then I had to call them off when the 90 unit came up. Right. So your procedures work, and you're there for us, and you're alongside of us. I don't think you can be beat with your professionalism and your ability to be there for us. So.
Great. All right. Thanks, Chris. Hey, Chris, so thank you so much for joining us today. This is wonderful. Sure. I'm sure so many nuggets here. And
yes.
Again, I just want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom and your deal. And I look forward to working with you on the next deal.
Yes, sir. I look forward to it also. Thanks for being a part of my commercial business.
You're welcome, Chris.
Okay, thanks, Peter.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed Chris's interview. Can you see yourself in Chris's shoes? I'm sure you can. He didn't come from a wealthy family. He didn't have a whole lot of experience. He didn't have a whole lot of money, but he had a desire, and he put in the work, and he followed direction. So I'm sure you can do the same too. Let's summarize real quick what just happened in that short interview. Number one is Chris's property was a 90-unit property in downtown Houston. It was 60% occupied at the time. The property was distressed, right? So it had some drainage issues, needed new roofs, and several other things. And very important, the owner was distressed. So because he was distressed and needed to get out of the property to fulfill some other financial commitments, we were able to use seller financing in a great way to leverage Chris in. So because of this, we're able to leverage ourselves in. Guess what? There were no income statements to be had on the property. And what that means is if you were to ask for a schedule of how the property performed financially over the last 3 years that you typically would need in any commercial deal, that did not exist. So that's a huge obstacle. So that really prevented us from going through with conventional financing. So we had to look at hard money to get the loan done. All right. We saw that the property had good bones. What I mean by that is the structure was sound. It was in a great area. And we saw the huge potential, the huge upside potential in this deal if we could buy it. We had the vision for this property. Right. Next is, as I mentioned before, Chris did not have the money for the conventional financing. They probably wanted 40 or 50% down, which wasn't going to work. Chris didn't have that type of money. So we had to use a hard money lender who gave Chris money to acquire the property and gave him money to conduct the rehab. And over the next 12 months, Chris was able to finish up the rehab, stabilize the property, make it look good, and he was able to refi this property into a Fannie Mae loan. Well, within 12 months, it appraised for $3.8 million. You fast forward maybe 4 to 5 months later, when the property is completely stabilized, it was worth $6.3 million, right? So Chris bought it for 3.1, and now it's worth 6.3 in little more than a year plus hard work. If Chris would have sold today after paying the commissions and closing costs, he would pocket over $2 million in profits. So congratulations, Chris. So what I would like you to do after this video, if you don't mind, could you just put in the comment box, just give a high five for Chris, so just tell Chris congratulations. He's a subscriber to this channel, and let's encourage him, and let's just say good job, Chris. All right, so thanks for watching this video today. If you want more videos like this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel by simply click subscribe, or go on to our website, commercialpropertyadvisors.com. Again, thank you for watching how Chris became a millionaire with just one deal. True story. I'll see you at the next video. Thank you very much.